Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is instructor Phil Mitratis. What I wanted to do is I was going to do a demo for my character design students who were having a little bit of a problem going on to their next phase. So this was part of the goal on what I'm trying to explain to them, which is for new designers and new artists getting involved. Getting involved with working in a design process. One of the things that you guys tend to do is you're so used to thinking that coming up with your first idea is the solution. So what we did, and the problem is that that's not always correct, is what you need to do is I need to introduce something called variation, and it's basically doing multiple versions of a particular design. And let me explain part of that process. So the first part of the process was this. A lot of you guys had a really basic, simple silhouette design that was done, okay? So you found, you do pages. We did a page of turtle, a page of cats, and then a page of birds. You found the ones that you like that are the most interesting silhouette. For this demo, I just did these really quickly, okay? What I wanted you to do next is then take a couple of these, okay, the ones that you like, and for an example here, I have one of a turtle, one of a cat, and then what we're going to do, this works a little bit easier digitally than it does doing it traditionally, but you can still do it traditionally if you just take the time. So if some of you drew over your silhouettes and you have a little bit of line detail like that, that's totally fine. But what we want to do is we want to take the base structure of the silhouette and we want to copy and paste it pretty much and draw it in a row like this, okay? Then what we're going to do is we're going to zoom inside here, and every time we go into draw on top of one of these silhouettes, we want to be pushing and exaggerating these layers at different levels, okay? And so this is the part that a lot of people don't understand about design, is that part of design is about understanding shape language. It's also about understanding visual reads, and it's also, especially from an animation point of view, when we get into character design, it has a lot to deal with pushing and squashing and stretching of shape, okay? How do you push shape to its elasticity or its strongest point, and then how do you bring it back in? And that's an important part that I feel just as a teacher, not only as a teacher, but someone who's worked in the industry for years, working around other artists in a studio environment, it's an area that a lot of artists don't contribute thought to. And so part of what I'm showing you here today and what we're doing in the character design course is actually something that I used to do with environment design. So yes, in environments, when I had props or I had maybe a vehicle or houses, I would go in and draw that house multiple times, just like I'm going to do here to see what I would come up with, okay? So let me go ahead. I'm going to move over to the other side of the mic here, and let me sort of zoom in here. So my goal right now is not to draw and replicate what I have next door here, but it's to look at that and to figure out how I can squash and change my shapes a little bit. So for example, what we're going to do is we're going to try to do like 4 different demos here, and we'll see which one comes up with a better looking turtle. So that's the whole purpose of this, is by doing multiple variations and messing with the shape, how do we change it and what looks very cool? Okay, so for example, on this guy, maybe I'm going to come over here. I'm going to curve and fling up part of that shape really quick, a lot higher. See that? I'm going to bring it up high, then I'm going to bring it down and curve it back in. Now, it doesn't look like much, but that little swerving line there actually does a lot and changes part of the flow of the character. In fact, just me looking at it, it gives me more of a overall organic feel to what's happening. Then I'm going to bring this part of the shell. I might fling that out a little bit more so it goes a little bit higher and breaks part of the silhouette. So when I'm doing these little sketches, you want to have fun and take it easy. There's no pressure, right? But I'm also looking at the different variations to see how something is working and not working, okay? And so that right there feels totally different than the other shell that I did. So I'm going to keep working on this in this process. And I want to just continue everything that I'm doing from this point, even for the rest of the character. So obviously not just the shell. But, what if I come up here and I take that neck and I really push that neck up quite a bit like that? And you could even change part of the head ball shape, because I'm looking in here and I see that part of the chin right there. And part of that starts to feel like it could be a goiter, type of this big heavy neck. So I'm going to bring that in. And what I've done now is I've sort of changed my face of my turtle like that a little bit, which is okay. I can squash it a minute if I don't like it. So what I like to do is I like to put down a line or two, and then I come back and decide whether or not I want to commit to it, okay? And then right up in here, I'm thinking, hey, what if I bring this leg down a little bit more, and let me get the toes a little bit pronounced. Now, there's lots of different ways to do turtle toes. I like these sort of weird looking thick wooden nail things that sort of come out a little bit like this. So I like pulling that foot out a little bit. I also feel it helps me give a little bit more shape and form to part of the design by doing that as well. Because it's sort of, in its own way, establishing that there is a front and side view to that turtle. And you can see that this leg, if I come down and split it like that, that's the back side, that's the front side, which actually is sort of cool. I like that, because then I like the idea of what if there being like a texture on the back, sort of like this. Okay? So that's pretty cool. Okay? Now let's come back up to to the back legs. Maybe these need to tuck in a little bit. So already I've only done one of these, and I already like these feet a lot better than my original design. Okay, so hence this is the purpose of why we're doing this. And the other thing I just noticed is I like that. See, here's the great thing about having that rough sketch. Do you see the shape here underneath? I really like that flowing curve that I have there. So that gives me the idea of maybe flowing a thicker line here and getting it to taper up to a thinner line. And then maybe this time I do the opposite here. Maybe this time I go thicker from the base here. And as I swing this line around, and then it goes thinner. So I go thicker, and then get that to be a little bit thinner like so. Okay? And I sort of like those stripes. It's different. Got one there, and then maybe there's one in there like that. So I come back later and address those up. Now, the face I wasn't too happy with, so let me go back into this. To be honest, it's always harder when I'm talking, when I'm drawing, than versus if I just draw and focus. So let me see if I can figure out a shape here. I do like that goiter of the neck, but I need to figure out what to do with this. I like the large eyes that I had on the other character. So maybe I can keep part of these large eyes in here. Let me see if I can bring that down a little bit. Actually goof that a little bit. It's a little too much. I also like pulling up the eyelids a bit like this, giving them shape, because it allows me to see them just a little bit more on that other side like that. There. Okay, let's say that that's part of the face. And then here, maybe he's got comes down a little bit more. Get that from Snapping Turtles. They sort of have that point on the jaw there. And I like that weight in there. Maybe he's just got a little bit of a chin. And sort of rolls into that other back chin like that, okay? It's pretty cool. And then I'm going to come over really quickly. And I'm going to put, I like that circle stuff I was throwing in there a little bit, because turtles have that natural texture to them. So let me see if I could come over here and find a way to incorporate some of these into my sketch and see what that does to help out part of it. Now, it's important that when you throw on textures, don't throw a texture going cross grain. Like if I come over here and do that, that's going in, it has a major axis going that way, right? So if we do that, that's not going to be going with the flow of part of the body right now. Part of the body is flowing around this. And again, that's sort of back to like basic form and understanding of how to wrap textures over subject matter. And, excuse me, and typology is what I meant to say. So it has to sort of make sense. Okay? There. So, and then I come over here. Let me look at the neck. I sort of like this guy. Maybe he should be chomping on like a branch or something. It's like that. I think that works really nice. So again, that's another version. So my goal is to keep doing these and to see where I end up. And if I can, come down from here and end up with a really cool design, something that I didn't think I had or could have had before, that's a win-win scenario for me in part of my design process, So here's the thing is, not many artists go out there and they tell you like, hey, this is what you need to do to be really successful. but it's something that happens inside the studio environment. And I think once you've done this enough at a studio level, when you've had a job and someone's asked you to revise a light pole like 10 times, you sort of pick up on making sure that your light pole is indicative of that particular time period and it's making sense, right? Right. So on this one, I like the idea of maybe the shape coming up this way. Then maybe it comes up here. Let me see what that looks like. And rounds out a little bit more. So it's a different shape. Again, I'm using that underline drawing that I have here to give me that feel of how it's working, okay? But if I have, here's another thing to think about too when you're working on your little elements like this. Think about, now let's go for the squash and stretch a little bit more. I go from a thick neck here, right? Give them even bigger toes this time. So I go from a thick neck, it gets really thin. Maybe I need to figure out a way to do that up here on the face. Maybe I need to take part of that face and bring it out here and squash it like that. Maybe he has to have a really long stretched face, and then that chin sort of comes up and then comes out and it gets really narrow, let's say, kind of like that. Okay, so again, I'm squashing and stretching. I'm also thinking about, in the back of my mind, straight against a curve, right? Because that's a compositional principle, right? If you have lots of curves like that and you throw a straight in there, it's going to become visually appealing to what the viewer is looking at. So once I like that sort of look, he's like grumpy old man turtle now, right? So sort of looks like my dad, old frustrated Greek guy. There, so I'm going to bring some of that in. Now I think I brought the bottom part in just a little too much there. So I'm going to come back in and see if I can adjust that back into here, and maybe there's a lower lip that comes in there, and then let me do the same thing. Let me pinch. I like that curve. Maybe there's a section that comes up here. And maybe that's part of his eye right in there. There, okay? And I like the idea of some long hair maybe coming off the top. Okay? And this time, I don't want to get a tangency there, so I'm making sure I'm bringing down that foot a little bit behind the other one. Does that make sense? Because another compositional principle, right? That's okay. That's okay, right? That's not okay. That's tangency. We don't want tangencies, okay? So that's better. Does that make sense? If that overlaps that one, that's better. It's not as much as a tangency. Something to think about. So let me bring that foot there. Bring this one back over a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is there, try to get that cocked out a little bit like that. Get that other toe in there. All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to turn on my monitor because I have students in here that are probably like, what is he working on right now? And that way they can watch. Here, it's kicking on. So the screen's going to blank out for a minute here, but that's all right. And then, I don't know, some turtles have tails, but I feel like giving this guy a little nub. Nub love, right? Oops. There it goes. It blacks out. Come back. There it goes. So maybe he's got a little nub. And this time, what if I push his feet back a little bit more? What if I throw him coming back like this? And then there's a little bit of a, and then they land like this, let's say. Like that. See, it just does a little bit more for part of the pose. I push it off, and then this one, I could still keep this one in here. And then I'm going to bring this a little bit more like this, okay? Like that. And I like to do this thing. I like to cross hatch a little bit on the other side. So it pulls the leg, tells you that it's supposed to be on the back side, okay? So, and what's cool is what I would do is as I go and finish this row here, I might take one of these then and then revise it a couple times to see what I come up with, and how I can push my shape a little bit more. The whole purpose of this is that the one thing that I see students doing all the time, which to me is like the biggest downfall you could do, is they're committing to only one drawing, and it's usually like their first idea. And when I see that, I'm just like, why would you do that? You know, there's still so much to bring into your design. Let it breathe, let it live a little bit. And the only way you're going to get there is by you, the artist, pushing and squashing and stretching and seeing what happens to these, you know, to your guy. In fact, I like that. What if he's got like a stripe comes down? Might be like that. And maybe, I don't know, maybe he has a stripe, comes up, and then it like falls apart a little. And then it breaks apart, wraps over to the other side. The only thing I don't like about that is the same thickness as the last one I just did. So I'm going to take that off and come up with another idea. I don't want the same thickness, and I just realized that as I'm talking here. So I'm going to just bring that stripe up, bring one down into here, and then make one a little bit thinner down here, and then maybe the line sort of tucking in on itself like that. I don't know, I'm just trying to come up with another pattern. So that's sort of cool. There, so that's another version. So let's go ahead, let's come over here. And, you know, I'm just doing this as a demo for you guys because look, I mean, I'm, what, 10, 15 minutes into this, and, you know, if I take off these blue lines here, you know, look at what you have. I have 3 different characters based off of similar body shapes that are now being sort of distorted and going through this process of coming up with variants, you know, and that's what I think our goal is, because what I find when I draw is I get used to one shape and then I want to change it up. I want to make it look a little bit different, you know. So this time I really do like this swing behind sort of feel on that shell. So I'm thinking, what if it does that? And maybe this needs to come up a little bit more. Pinch over a little. Like that. And what if, let me see, what if I wonder if there's a way to just round the turtle shell. Oops. Just get it to come down there. Maybe there's another bump here. That's sort of cool. Maybe this is more like a crustaceous lava. No, lava would be more angular. But there, I like that feel. Different shapes in there. And then I can maybe, like traditional turtle shells, they have that sort of pattern in between them. Like that. Okay. Oops. Got a tangent with that edge of the paper like that. So that's cool. It's a little bit different. This time, let me connect this. I didn't do that last time. Let me connect the shell coming behind him like that. So it's an official like undershell to part of the turtle, okay? I'm really going to increase that neck thickness right there because of that lumpy feel. Does that make sense? Right in there, it just feels a lot more lumpy. And I want to put a curve on that foot coming down. I want to get that feel that that's a really defined curve, like a big fat, overweight foot. So just that curve line affects the way the others are working. And then maybe I stylize part of these toes. Maybe I have a round toe in the middle, another toe like that. Okay. That's pretty cool. Let's get up in here. And I was thinking his face is more squashed this time. Maybe he's got a beard or a goatee. And ask me why I felt like putting an ear on. That's probably a bad mistake. I'm turn him into like a little weird looking rabbit or something. Okay, so here let's do, I'm getting a little lost in the shape. Let me expand it out. Oh yeah, it's sort of cool. Maybe it comes out a little bit and he's got this. That's nice. I see this little pattern in here where he's got maybe a circle pattern here on his in the middle. And then he's got these big sort of eyes in this area. Yeah, like that. So that's just, I don't know, something different, I guess. I was thinking snapping turtle. I don't know if this one's working as well. Actually, let me erase part of that. The other cool thing too by doing this is that I'm working at a smaller size, right? I'm not working, that's the other sort of pet peeve I have with students is they jump right into this 11 by 17 size with one character. It's like, really? You want to do a full illustration like that? That's going to be that hard and frustrating? Or that's sort of cool. I like the sway of that. He's got a little bit of a center line there that comes down. There, that's sort of cool. A little different. And let me do the same thing. I'm going to round those legs back. There. Okay, so fortunately I'm going to have to stop here real quick because my class is about to start. And then I'll come back. And then we can go back into this and we can readjust it. What I like too by taking a little break like that is I come back and I see things. And what do I mean by that? Not see things like I'm seeing ghosts, but look, I could take that and go, hey, what if I take that face right there and I decide to squash him like this? See that? That's sort of cool. In fact, doing that squash and stretch right now, if I bring that back in there, I actually like that quite a bit. So I haven't even, all I did was take a second to do something in Sketchbook and it's changed part of the character and the flow of what that silhouette shape is and where I'm going with this. Okay, but I am going to stop here for a minute because actually I might have just 5 minutes to do one more. No, I got 2 minutes. So let's just detail this. It's probably good. Okay, so I'm going to pause it and save the recorder, and then we'll come back to finish working on these a little bit later today. Then we'll get to the cats, and we'll call that a good little variation, good sketch day today. Okay, cool. All right, we'll be right back. All right, so you'll notice one of the things that I did do here is I put all my silhouettes next to each other. So usually I only do 3, but for this example I did 4. So they get a little bit squashed together, which is okay. But the one thing I noticed is I did have this idea of, actually maybe I'll move this over, of what if my shell went up this way? And if I bring it up that way, it's going to hit that character's face. So because we're talking about swaying and doing different variations of design, I have curved flow in here. Here I have sort of a straight curve back, and then we drop back. So that's sort of working a straight against a curve line. And here is also a little bit different too. But let me go see if I can move those over really quick just to make room so I can do a different variation right here. So give me 1 second. What I'm going to do is let's take our silhouettes, which are right here, And let's select them really quickly, like so. Oops, that should be fine. And then I'm going to move them back a little bit, like about there. And then I will select this guy and we'll move him over a teeny bit more. There, now I have a little bit more room to mess with his shell. Okay, and then we'll grab our line drawing as well and we'll do the same thing. We'll take that and oops. Okay, cool. So now we have a little bit more room. So what I thought would be cool, a different play up on shape would be on this guy, what if I throw that curve coming in like this? Boom, and I get that sort of coming up. And then I have a straight in the back like that. So that might react different and have a different form for that character. So again, remember, your goal is to try to play off your shapes and to just try doing something that's opposite from what you had before. Okay? I was wondering, what if I have the head, instead of going from thick to thin, what if I do more of this? What if I do it thin and go out to thick a little bit? Now that looks a little, might be a little harder to pull off, but then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this upper shell, excuse me, the lower portion of the bottom shell, I'm going to bring that up a little bit to facilitate part of the difference. And then I like that curve feel in here, so I'm going to see if I can throw that leg really coming out a little bit more, being a little bit more stretched out. I like that feel. Like that. That's sort of cool. And get the toes in there. That, okay. So, and you see the difference? I mean, to me, that's a cool thing to do, is I can get really lucky where before I had thick to thin, right? And then look at the head then went thin to thick. So now I can play it the opposite way, and switching up like that actually looks pretty cool because it makes the neck feel a little bit more delicate, which adds a little bit more possibly to part of the character, okay? So I'm already thinking, because he has his lower jaw, he's got to have a sort of a, like an underbite, like part of his mouth comes down like this. Maybe like that a little bit, okay? Give him a little nose in here. It's cool. And I do like the hair that I used on the last guy, so I'm going to see if I can't throw some of that in here. Makes him look like he's maybe also a cross between maybe he's got some chicken in him. Prehistoric. It's pretty cool. But I like that, the flow of that. Now I need to make sure, let me get in here. I want to make sure I get that shell like sort of wrapping over right here. So get a couple of cross contour lines in there to help that pop out a little bit. And I want to throw another cross contour line going over part of that shell somehow to, you know, so I like that straight back here, so I'm thinking straights against curves. So if I have a straight line there, what if I throw a curve shape in like this? And then have sort of like another curved shape here. But then where this becomes more curved, I want to see if I can get a straight in there. A little bit of a straight. And then maybe I have something up here that's wrapping as well. Oops, sorry, I'm hitting the button on there. And then these legs, see if I can bring one back like that and I get that same. Sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice. Get that curve in there, there's two. Boom, comes forward like that. The other toe. And then maybe the other leg in the back is fitting in right about there. Drop that back a little bit by putting some hatched line on it. Okay, cool. So if I come back over here, let's look at everything that we've done. And I don't know if I go ahead and if I turn off my layer selection here, and I look at it, look at where I started, you know. I had a really base, simple silhouette, and just already going through this progression, there's two of them that I really like a lot. I like this last guy that I drew, which I told some of you that tends to be really common in a lot of drawing styles, is when you get warmed up, the last one you do tends to be better. But I like this guy right here quite a bit, and I also like this sort of grumpy-ish guy too. I like this guy over here if I had more of a swamp or something, but I definitely have two other areas that I could go off of, you know, and to me, this is what I want you guys to do in character design. So this way we don't start with our first idea, we go through our variations off of the silhouette and see where it takes us. So next, let's go back over and let's work on Mr. Cat, okay? Looks sort of cool when you just take that off. What I could do is go back over and I'll fill those with blue and at the end, and then that'll help us see part of that evolution of that character and how we got to where we got there, you know. The one thing I didn't do too is I really wanted to push the face out a little bit more. So if I had more time, I would definitely do another row of the turtles to see where that would take me. Okay, so let's go over to the cats. Let me grab, I have some of my reference here. I've been looking at a bunch of reference. And before I start sketching on the cat, remember, number one, save your file always, so that's saved. Number two, the old expression, which is you are only as good as your reference, which is absolutely true. Okay, cats are a little bit harder to do because they have some different facial elements. So let me just get in here and see what I can come up with. So one of the first things I thought of when I saw the shape is, what if this, I don't know why I like big fat cats, but what if this head ball, this body shape just went like right into the head like that, where the head literally gets buried and the ears barely even come out of there. So that was one of the first things I wanted to try, to see what that might look like. And then maybe I was wondering what would happen if I come in here and sort of, cats always have like a sort of the similar triangular nose. Sort of comes down like this and has like a little nostril on the side. So sort of like that. That's all you really have to do. And the eyes on cats can be so varying. They really, so much you can do in terms of personality with them. Like, it's really simple. And gosh, what if he's even, I almost want to come here and put hair on him too. So let me just do this. And what if I'm thinking, you might have that little, sometimes they have, I don't know what you call it, it's like the base, on each side you have your little circles for where the whiskers are going to come out of. So part of the base there could just come down like this. It could be a sad, depressed cat. He's a bipolar cat. And just bring his feet down a little bit here. I think he needs a little stubby tail or something that comes off of this. Actually, it's okay. I think that enhances the silhouette. I'm wondering though if he had more of a stubness on him, if that makes sense. We can come back to that in a minute. Let me just erase it right now. What I was thinking is, what would it look like if he just had like a little puff ball, sort of like that. Just give him a little bit of chin here. Now cats have little claws, so even if they're really fat and round, they have these like little triangle little claw points that come off sometimes that you can see. And remember, that's part of their nail structure, right? So all right, Now what I don't like is the head curve right in there. I think this head ball needs to be just completely separate like that. And then the body needs to curve back into it somehow. I'm not really too fond of it, but it's a starting point, right? Actually, I don't like that one at all. So let me just do a couple others and see where I end up. Go back. Come on, brush. Go back to brush. Why is it doing that? Is that the recorder? Come on, brush tool. Stay on brush. All right, I hit something there. Let me pause. Okay, sorry about that. I think the recorder memory messed with part of the computer there. So I was imagining this cat, maybe his mouth is open a little and he's got his little fangs here. Little teeth open or something. So I'm going to flip his ears inward and up a little bit more. So he's also like a chubby cat that's got this rounded off weird body. I do like the collar thing. The idea is you can come right in here in that fold of the neck, and you can just put a little bit of a line coming through like this, and then it's instant. You just go like that, boom, and it implies like there's a collar in there. You don't even have to draw the whole collar. You just put it, and then you could put like a little ball shape on there or something, right? Trying to make the feet really small and rounded here, right? Make the chest really low to the ground. Same thing with that back foot. Maybe you don't even see part of the back, you just see that. Maybe he's got some kinds of stripes. Sometimes cats, they have like stripes that branch off and that's that back leg right there. Okay, another variant. Just keep going. Let's see where we end up. One of my students made a comment to me the other week. He said he didn't like some of his sketches, and I said, how many did you do? And he said he did 7. And I said, well, that's part of the problem right there, right? You're not going to get too much out from a design standpoint with 7 drawings. So straight, let's throw a curve in there. See where it comes down. Maybe got a super fluff tail. It's in there. That really does add quite a bit of weight to the cat. Almost got to round it just a teeny bit right up there. That could be a good spot for the ear. Like a grumpy. Put a couple little lines on here to indicate, a little bit of flow coming off. And then let's get this back foot in here. I'm thinking he's got one of those like big legs in the back that almost look broken. Because it's so fat. All right, so that's another one. And let's go back here. I almost want to put some pattern on them or something. Let me figure out what else I can do. Very fun. All right, let's see what else we come up with here. Let me look at my reference. See what other shapes. There's something I haven't done yet. Crazy cat or like weird head cat. Bigger ears. So one thing I'm thinking about in the back of my mind is what if I really push up part of the head shape and make the ears really smaller, and part of the head. So what if the head is like really much larger in size? How do I get that right on there? That's going to bug me. Hold on, let me fix that. I don't want to red dot on my drawing. Not that, not that, not that. Okay, well I guess it's going to stay there because I can't figure out. Oh, there it is. It's not out there. It's on my turtle layer. Okay. All right, so let's see if I... Some cats have that really like thick neck in there, right? I know this is either going to work or not work at all. If he has his nose up high. And small eyes. And bags under him. give him some real small ears. Chubby face. Looks a little crazy, doesn't it? Teeth in there. There's his little tongue. It's got like a big old fat roll. Comes in there. See if I can attach his foot and make his foot look like he's coming out, and it maybe comes forward a little bit. I got to figure out get that paw here. Some kind of goofy look. He almost looks like some crazy trailer park cat. Looks like he's part raccoon or something. I got that, by the way, what I'm doing right there, just to give credit to where it's due. That's Charles Schultz when he did Peanuts, when he did Linus. He'd always put like these little things around the outside of Linus, and it made it feel like it was like dust or smoke or whatever going around. So that's something that stuck with me ever since I was a kid. I used to sketch those characters. Now his back leg here should be really, I think this back hip should be really weighted to support the weight of him. So to me it should be coming out like this, like really heavy and fat and just sort of rounding. And then he has this big paw here. Maybe he was like at one point in his life, he was like a private cat to this lady who was like a princess, and then she had a heart attack and he had to move to the dumpsters, and he's been living in the dumpsters ever since, and he's pissed off about it. Okay, so let's go back and look, and let's take a look at what we have and turn off our blues, and look, totally different cats, right? I mean, and I'd probably say the last two were my best, so I like the direction those two were headed in. So again, this goes to serve, this is why we do the variations and the size and the stretch. So, just to quickly put a layer over all of this and just to explain, look at the differences. I have, oops, I want to change to red there. We have straights against a curve. Here we have curve with then really small eyes in the middle. Here we had some bigger ears with more of a curvy body type and flow. And then this guy too had this like fat, I just got this feeling of this flowing curves coming inside him. So that made him pop out a little bit more. So you could come back to this, and this guy's just, oh, I can't stand this guy right here. In fact, I think I'm going to take him away and erase him forever. He's too simple. He doesn't look like a cat. Looks like an angry groundhog or something. So let's take him, delete him. You are gone. And let's go back. And we'll do one more pass, and then we'll wrap up part of this lecture here. Okay? So, uh-oh. Did I delete more? I think I did. Hold on. Let's pause the recorder. All right, so we're back. Sorry about that. I thought I lost something. I just wanted to show you that original sketch and where it started and where I've ended up. So let's do one more cat there. We decided to pull him out. I did have this other idea. I was looking at my reference here, and I sort of had this idea of this. Let's go back to black here. A couple ideas. This is a tough one. Cats are hard because they're very compact shaped sometimes. But I did have this idea of this really overweight face that takes over like most of his body. Let me see if I can pull that off. And bringing the ears really close. So I need a big, huge curving shape in here. Yeah, like something like that. And then the center line would come down about there. So maybe his legs actually, he's got this massy shape like this. And then his legs just sort of sway in here like that. And hold him up a little bit. There's a center line. So maybe his paws are just sort of 1, 2, 3 like that. And this time I thought about putting his ears really close in. See if I could pull that off. Let me find another angle that's not quite working. It'd be cool if he had a big marking on his face. Swoop back up here and his nose is there. This isn't working. The reason why it's not working, just to explain it, look, the distance from here to here is almost the same as that and as that. So there needs to be more variations of shape in there. So let me just hit Command Z. I'm going to undo some of this. I think part of that answer lies in that upper face and what I do with this. So maybe I need to tuck his lip up just right underneath there under his nose. He needs to just go like that. And then that needs to come down a little bit more. Like this. You just got little fangs that come out. This is other back leg back there. Look like his tail's been almost chewed off a couple times. It's all like, maybe it's been stuck in some barbed wire or something. Okay, so that's cool. I can pursue that guy. I like his face. I like that round body shape. I like the weight in there. Okay, so anyway, again, just using the same silhouettes. And I know what I was going to do. It's going to turn off all the blue and show you what it looks like with some other blue under there. So let me pause the recorder for a minute and we'll look at the difference. All right, sorry, I had to stop there. We had a technical difficulty. The RAM from the computer slows down the way that Sketchbook Pro functions. So anyway, here's what I have, right, just to show you guys. So look, that's what I started with, okay? And then let me turn on the blue. I put silhouettes under there to make them pop a little bit. And it's cool because you can see my progression from the first and then where I ended up multiple versions later. And what's funny to me is that on most of these cases, my last two are the ones that I like the most. So if I had to go through these and if I had to really pick, I'd be like, ooh, I really like Crazy Crack Cat right here that looks a little bit different. Okay. And hold on. And so I like this guy that I was just saying. Sorry about that. Let me get that color editor back. Red. Let me move around a little bit. So when I look at these, without a doubt, I think that guy should be developed more. I like the way that guy came out. And I actually like this guy, sort of front master right here. And so, I mean, I know myself as an artist, and I know this is how I am when I was drawing at a studio. I know this is how I am when I'm drawing for a client. The more time I have to come in and spend on my work, the better it ends up looking. And it's that simple, It's just the way it works. I mean, you can't sit and do these all night long because eventually you're going to stop. You have to get something out to your client. But even I found, that's another good point of view, is that even by providing my client with a sheet like this, I would call this sheet like variations or renditions of original designs. And they like seeing that. The one thing that directors and story supervisors, whoever, creators, illustrators, writers, authors, the one thing they really like to see is when you provide them with options. And that's one of those golden little secrets that, yeah, I could have stuck just here, and done these first two right there. But by providing them with these other options and saying, hey, what do you think about some of these other cats? And sometimes I remember David Coleman once was talking and he said, yeah, I was doing these doodles and in the very right-hand corner, I just did like a goofy-looking turtle, and that's the one they like the most. And there's something to say about that. There's a truth in that. When you were at your most carefree point and you're sitting there and you're just like, oops, I meant to go red. And you're sitting there and you're just like sketching away and you're just like, oh, hey, I didn't have a big, ugly, like blocky looking cat with a goatee, and you're just like doing this thing and you're comping something out and you're like, oh yeah, that's going to be my cat. And you're doing it real fast. Boom, that ends up being like one of the best one of the best designs at times. And so, without a doubt, you can do that. So the other thing too that I would encourage, one thing I like to do is the pencil tool here in Sketchbook is fantastic. Okay, let me throw one more thing at you. Check this guy out. If in Sketchbook Pro, if you grab this pen tool right here, I think that's it. Oh, hold on, maybe I'm zoning out. Yeah, there's also that pen, but this pen tool has a way of making like really cool lines, and it just gets you to force down and to think about being less is more, if that makes sense. So you can get in there and start sketching out a character real quick. And it's just the way, I don't know how to explain it, the way this tool works sometimes, it just ends up being really cool. And it just feels like I'm drawing with a big pen again, like a ballpoint pen. And it has a nice, fun feel to it, I think, at times. And it actually makes me think a little bit more about black and white sometimes, because it doesn't get that sketchiness that the pencil tool gets. And then it allows me to come in here and really think about maybe a character's face and something I hadn't really thought about before. Does that make sense? It has like a loose quality to it where I don't want to connect my ends. I want to like leave open spots, Actually, I sort of like that cat right now. You know what I mean? He's so like, boom, like his face just hits the floor and maybe his tail just comes back here. But it acts like a real pen, and it has this very, I was doing this the other day when I was sketching some gorillas, and I was like, man, I'm really like starting to fall in love with that pen there. It has a very distinct sort of feel to it, you know. So it's fun. I actually reminds me of really like a nice thick like a 0.7 millimeter ballpoint pen, and you're sketching people. You have to focus on some of the, and this is actually cool. I'm actually having fun doing it, right? Getting to try something different. So here now I'm just sketching. I'm looking up at some of my other designs, and I'm just wondering where can I take them. So I know the nose has to be pretty defined. Bye, Brandon. See you later. Actually, that should be another exercise, right? It's a lot of fun because I've done this before. Is you've ever taken a Sharpie, drawn with a Sharpie?
Pen's really hard for me.
Yeah, pens, because you have to know where to, like, I messed up a little bit of his face, but that could be a good starting point to an end point for another sketch. You know what I mean? So that's the way I look at things. Is the other thing too is you're not always going to have like these beautiful, perfect drawings. You can't. You have to fail sometimes or land in a direction you didn't think you were going to go to see where things end up. Because I could take this guy right here, man, and I can come back and push him like 10 other ways, and I can come up with another cool style for a cat. Actually, I was putting that back end up. Now I'm not liking that. Now I'm thinking he should just be like, like bam. He just sort of drops down. Uh-oh. Oh,
Are you having a class?
hold on, Zine, 1 second. No, I So sorry about that. As I was sketching here, talking with Eric, one of my students in character design. We're not in the character design class. And out of nowhere, one of our wonderful IT individuals, Azine, came in to help us fix and work on our machining. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up part of my little sketch here. But look, what I was talking to Eric about is I'm not too fond of this guy on the left, but I can see his potential, right? And to me, that's a really, really important thing that all of the kids out there and everybody needs to understand, right? Here, I'm going to keep talking as I color him in, put some little bit of blue under there. Is that you're not expected to be like a Michelangelo, you know? You're not expected to produce an awesome drawing every time. That's not how artists are made. Artists are made from practice and from repetition and from not being down on yourself, you know? So, I mean, that's a whole nother video I was having a wonderful discussion about with another teacher. But that's, you know, artists are made from practice. So if you do work and you turn around and knock yourself for it and go, oh, that looks horrible and my cat doesn't look good, my cat looks like a hamster. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a stepping stone. That's how the human brain works. In fact, most of the human brain, when you do any type of activity that involves learning something new, it takes you, I think it's like, I forget what the ratio is, but it's like a 20 to 30% ratio of the task itself to master what you're doing. That's normal, right? So you just got to get in there and have fun and carve up shapes and see where you end, you know? So, you know, I just did these guys super quick while I was chatting with Eric here. And, you know, I walk away having something that's another stepping point. So if I wanted to, I could come back in and take these two new silhouettes I just made and turn them into something. I'm not now, I would not show the one on the left or the right here to produce, maybe the one on the right, but I would not show the one on the left in a meeting to somebody because I could go back over him and change his shape and body style and other details and I could end up with something totally different. But again, it's just the point, guys. Everybody starts somewhere, okay? Thanks for watching. Keep drawing and we'll see you later.